we got to start with where things ended. I
Mhm.
mean, it was a big tribal council. You obviously were incredibly confident in the plan that you had put forward to the point where you end up doing a throwaway vote for Sam. You get to sit in Jeff's chair, not realizing maybe that the world was about to crumble down from around you. Talk to me about your perspective on that. And in retrospect, was there anything that maybe you would have looked at in a different set of eyes and realized, oh, this is not going according to plan?
So this is the weird thing about that. I know that based off the edit, it looks like I was completely clueless that it was me. But if you look at my reaction when my name starts coming up, it's more confusion. I'm more like, why did y'all choose me over Saul? Like I was pretty confused in the moment, like as to why it happened. Watching it back, I can understand how, people were able to rally behind a Rome vote, and the fact that 12 people aren't immune makes pretty much 12 people play really, really cagey, and pretty much makes it where like, okay, first name that we throw out, that's fine with me because I'm not going to rock the boat. So I think it was more just like accumulation of like that happening. But like I stated, I pretty much knew there was a 25% chance that it was going to be me that night. Like I knew there was a pretty good chance it was me, mainly because Saul's name was the only name that I heard floating around, and there's always at least two names. So I straight up said in a confessional, that one where I'm leaning back, I said, listen, I might not have won a reward challenge today, but I'm gonna be eating on Saul's bones tonight if it goes well. And if it doesn't, hey, listen, it's clearly me because I tried. I'm trying to get him out, and I'm the only one throwing out a name. I straight up said that, but they cut that little part. But yeah, so I knew there was a good chance it was me. So I had my shot in the dark in my sock, and I straight up thought in the confessional booth, like walking up there, I was like, man, do I play my shot in the dark or do I do a throwaway vote? And I just straight up thought, like, listen, if you play your shot in the dark, even if it hits, guess what? All these people want you out of the game. You're going to be gone in a couple votes, like what happened with Caleb. So it's really like no point. If it comes to where like at 13, you're going to be out of the game with a shot in the dark, or you're going to be out in the game unless you play your shot in the dark, you're not going to be long for the game anyway. So I'd rather cause a little bit of drama, a little bit of chaos by writing down Sam's name than potentially staying in one more day and then getting voted out by everybody the next day.
Well, one thing that might have put you in the hot seat and not the one that again you occupied briefly from Jeff's perspective, was the fact that you wake up the first morning after the merge and you start spreading those seeds a little bit, try to continue some of that Rome chaos that really typified your game. Talk to me about that perspective, and were you aware that people were comparing notes as immediately as they did afterwards?
Yeah, I thought that was interesting because in my head, if someone comes to me and tells me that someone wants me out of the game, it's going to be kind of hard to not believe them. Like, it's going to be like, okay, like, why would you say this? Because this is easily checkable, right? And so when Kyle on the beach tells me that Sam's his number one target, Tiana's the number one female target that he wants to target. Sue and Caroline aren't playing a good Survivor game. They have no social game. They're just sitting on the back, just chilling on the back burner. I was like, okay, like this guy is talking about everyone. And I'm like, okay, that's four people he already talked about. This is great. That means that, there's four people that are going to be mad at Kyle. So I woke up the next morning and I told all four of these people, because all four were people that I wanted to work with. I told all four of them, hey, Kyle wants you out. And they all received it pretty well in the moment. Now, what I didn't expect to happen was for Kyle to then go and talk with all the people. And, it wasn't shown, but Kyle, he swore on his kid's life that he did not say the things that he told me at the beach, which I would never do. But hey, Kyle, he did what he got to do. So that was the reason why Tiana believed him and never came back to double check with me. Like, hey, Kyle said he didn't say that. Kyle lied on his daughter's life, so she just believed it instantly. She was like, you know what, it's fine. And I was like, like it is what it is. You gotta just take it with a grain of salt. People tell lies on Survivor every day, so we've seen people lie on their kids before. It's happened before, and it's been a winning strategy before. So I'm not gonna sit here and say that like I'm not gonna put a bunch of fault on Kyle for that. It's just not something I would do.
So you end up turning the target from Kyle after he wins immunity onto Saul. And to say this was a complicated relationship would be an understatement. You call it at one point a brother-like dynamic. I mean, we really see it run hot during episode 4 when you're tailing him during the idol searching. You're giving whether you call it a threat or an ultimatum. And while you do vote together on that Keyshawn vote, clearly once your name starts getting brought up, Saul is ready to jump on it, and vice versa. So, give me your perspective on the dynamic the two of you had.
Me and Saul had such an interesting dynamic. It was literally like an older brother, little brother situation out there. And it's so funny because it never shows it. Like it never shows like, Saul like, talking with me on the beach, like telling me, no, don't think about the challenge tomorrow. Don't think about tomorrow at all. Like he literally tried to tell me how to think. And I'm just like, bro, like I want to play Survivor and you're just telling me not to. It was like, it was very, very annoying, but like none of that stuff ever gets shown. It just Saul's being annoyed with me, but I was annoyed with him just as much. So it was just a mutual, we want each other out of the game, mainly because we know we're not going to work with each other, just because, we just have this unworkable relationship. But it's so funny because we voted together at the end of the day on one of the most chaotic pre-merge tribals ever. And yeah, I really wish that the live tribal at that tribal did get shown, because it was the reason that we ended up voting together. So I was very confused as to why it didn't get shown.
All right, well, yeah, illuminate that for us. Obviously, you were there. We see you get up, steal Keyshawn's vote, and there's a little bit of confusion happening. So let us know what was going on in that moment that caused this sort of shutout vote against Keyshawn.
Yeah. So so first of all, what happened was when after Genevieve told me that I'm the plan. Granted, listen, all of this happened within an hour before Tribal. So I didn't give Saul the ultimatum until an hour before we left for Tribal. So it was very
Wow.
last minute when I gave him the ultimatum. Then he was like, no, I'm not going to give you my shot in the dark. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and look for an idol now. That's when you see me wearing the same outfit I gave him when I had the ultimatum. That's when you see me start to follow Saul around. We only had about 45 minutes left until Tribal. So me following him around for 45 minutes, trying to make sure he doesn't find a last minute idol, it wasn't as crazy as it looked when, with how things are chopped together, making it look like I followed him first thing in the morning. Like, no, it was all right before Tribal. So then Genevieve tells me that I'm the plan. So I'm super confused. I'm like, whoa, I'm going super hard for my alliance. Now I'm the plan. And then me and Genevieve start talking. I think Saul realized that, hey, me and Genevieve will have the numbers by ourselves tonight with just us two and me having to steal a vote. So Saul walks over and Saul just straight up says, hey, you ready to do this? I'm down to vote out Keyshawn. And so me and Genevieve are like, oh, well, that's perfect because that's what we were down to do anyway. And so then we went to Tribal. All of us already knew that we were going to vote Keyshawn. And I still knew, okay, even if I steal Keyshawn's vote, that's 2 votes. I still want Saul out of the game. So my big thing is, do I put my 2 votes on Saul, make Saul and Genevieve put their 2 votes on Keyshawn, and hope that Teeny didn't lie to me and actually did lose her vote. So it's a 2-2 split. And then we re-vote. And then it's me and Genevieve deciding who goes home between Saul and Keyshawn outright, right? That was going to be my plan because I knew that all the votes were going to be going on Keyshawn, or that was the plan. What I didn't know is I felt really uneasy at Tribal Council. I felt so uneasy. And that's why I stood up. I pulled Keyshawn to the back first. And I said, Keyshawn, do I still need to use my steal a vote on Saul? And Keyshawn's reply was, it's up to you, man. And in my head, if you're in an alliance with me, and this is such a serious moment, and you just say, whatever happens, to me, that tells me you think I'm going home, because clearly you think whatever I'm going to do tonight doesn't matter. So I was seriously like, okay, word, you really think I'm going home tonight? I'm definitely stealing your vote, and I'm going to make sure that you go home, because you aren't even trying to hide it. So then I went over to Genevieve. I said, don't worry, it's still going to be Keyshawn. Then I went over to Saul and had a one-on-one conversation. I said, Saul, if I do not steal your vote, will you vote for Keyshawn? And he said, yes, I will. And I said, all right, let's do it. And then we sat down, and then it was time to vote. So that was the live tribal that ended up happening, and that was the reason that, everyone ended up voting together. And yeah, so it was pretty interesting. But yeah, it was definitely a very live tribal.
Oh my goodness. Well, it's part and parcel for, again, that chaotic and maybe unstable stuff that you brought into the game, because I mean, a lot of your pre-merge narrative from a lot of other people's perspectives on your tribe was the fact that, you were somebody that was maybe a little cocksure from like a camp and a challenge perspective, a little antagonistic, as we were talking about with like some of the way you were dealing with the fallout of some of these votes. Talk to me about your reaction to that perception. Was that something you were aware of out on the island with all the stuff you were doing?
I was aware when it came to Saul and Asia, but when it came to like Teeny and Keyshawn, they were very nice out there on the island. They never made it seem like, they were annoyed with me. Like, we had a very strong alliance, like I stated. I never had any doubts about our alliance. We had a alliance name. I don't know why it never got aired. It was the 4 Cheese Pizza Alliance. I was cheddar. Teeny was mozzarella. Keyshawn was provolone, and Genevieve was parmesan. We literally and we talked about this for like over a week. So we're like, why did the 4 Cheese Pizza Alliance not get shown? But it is what it is. But we had a very strong alliance from literally day one. And yeah, they never gave me any indication that they didn't want to work with me. Even with the fishing thing, I wasn't the first one to go out and use the fishing gear. I was just the only one to be able to catch fish with the fishing gear. So when you're the only one able to catch fish, yeah, you're going to use it most of the time because I'm just going to sit around and wait for you to use it for an hour while you're not catching anything. So yeah, Saul went out there, tried it. Like a couple people out there went out there and tried it, but I was the only one that was actually able to catch fish. So that's the reason why I caught 7 fish the first day. I ate 2 out of the 7, which isn't as crazy as it made it seem, but it is what it is at the end of the day. I had a blast out there. So yeah.
Let's get one thing straight. Did you throw the puzzle in that infamous episode 4 challenge? Because there was a lot of talk about it. We didn't get any confessionals about it, at least shown to us. So let's hear it straight from the horse's mouth.
Well, there was a confessional about it. I straight up said I suck at puzzles. I straight up said that, but I don't think people believe me just because they're like, there's no way. Now, granted, it would have made sense narrative wise for me to quote unquote throw it because I thought that Saul was going home and things like that. No, there is no way that I threw that puzzle. I would never throw a Survivor challenge in my life. That would never happen. We straight up went into the challenge. When I tell you we voted out Asia, then the next morning we get tree mail that is going to be another Survivor challenge, potentially with a puzzle at the end. We're all like, okay, well, we hope it's at least not the same type of puzzle. We all walk in less than 24 hours after failing at a puzzle miserably. Walking in, we all look at the end of the challenge and we see the almost exact same type of puzzle, literally within the same 24 hours. We all, before the challenge started, said, oh, it's over. We all literally knew it was over. We were like, it's over. All of us stunk at puzzles. Nobody was confident in those type of puzzles on our entire tribe. Not Asia, not Keyshawn. I don't care what it make it looks like. No one was confident in those type of puzzles. Saul didn't want to do it. Teeny didn't want to do it. Genevieve didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. Nobody wanted to do the puzzle. So literally what I said at this point was, okay, Saul, do you want to do it? No. Teeny didn't want to do it. No. Keyshawn didn't want to do it because he just failed less than 24 hours ago at it. So then it was down between me and Genevieve, and I was like, okay, well, you want to just try it? Like, whatever. Like, okay, the 2 times that I've been at the end of challenges so far, we've won. So like, I'll try it if we want. And then Genevieve was like, okay, I'll do it with you. Why not? I sat out the last challenge. So we said, okay, we stink at puzzles. What's going to be our best bet to actually get this thing done? And we kind of talked about it. We were like, maybe just doing it one at a time. And I was like, okay, I mean, that sounds like a good plan. I'll just sit in front of it. You hand me a piece one at a time, and eventually we'll get one, right? Didn't work out. I don't know why or how. We went through each of those puzzle pieces like 3 or 4 times. None of them fit. I don't know what happened. I don't know if we was grabbing them from the same pile or what, but that was absolutely wild. And in the moment when Jeff is sitting there like yelling at you, like just talking about how bad you are at puzzles for like 45 minutes while we're trying to do it, it was rough. I'm not gonna lie. It was rough.
So let's say you do succeed on this Saul vote. You're able to get, whether it be unanimous or not, on him and you move on. Were you already eyeballing who you wanted to go to the end with? Between old familiar Lavo faces and some very new ones you were trying to build bonds with?
I was down to go to the end with the 4 cheese pizza alliance. Me, Keyshawn, Teeny, and Genevieve. I was down to go there all the way. But once we hit the merge, Keyshawn wasn't there. Tribal lines were crazy. Everyone knew if we would have lost that last challenge before the merge hit, then it could have been anyone that night. But that's truly the case. It
Wow.
honestly could have been anyone. Everyone knew that everyone on Lavo was a free agent, mainly because of the Keyshawn vote, which is so wild because if Keyshawn would have just went along with the Saul vote, we would have been the tightest 4 heading into the merge, and it would have been a completely different situation. But instead, it was a bunch of scrambling from everyone in Lavo. So I didn't know who I wanted to work with. But once I hit the beach, I was like, okay, Sam's clearly connected with everyone. That's the reason why I wrote down his name. I said in the confessional, I said, you are way too comfortable in this game, and I want to see you shaking your boots when you go back to camp. But it didn't make that edit. So that's why I wrote down Sam's name, because I could tell like everyone was vibing with him and things like that. And also Tiana, I was like, okay, she's good socially, and she's gonna be a challenge beast potentially as well. So I was like, okay, those are like the 2 people that I want to work with and want to lock in as kind of having my meat shields, because in my opinion, there weren't a lot of shields left in the game at this point. So I was like, okay, like if there's not that many shields left, I need to keep these people around. So when Kyle came to me and told me, yeah, he wants to target Tiana and Sam, I was like, perfect. These are my 2 shields that I want to keep in the game. So that's why I went to them, talked with them about getting Kyle out. They were all down to get Kyle out. Then Kyle wins immunity, and then things go left. So yeah.
So last thing I want to ask is, when we got to talk before you went out there, you promised never before seen moves in this game. You pleaded the 5th back then, but now I'm really going to try to pry this wide open. Was there something that you tried out there that was in that little book you brought in that we got to see or we didn't get to see? Where were these never before seen moves, Rome?
I never got the opportunity. But yeah, if you want to potentially see it, I guess you're just gonna have to vouch for me to come back eventually,
Ah, there we go. Just trying to use it as like a backdoor opportunity to get into 50. Say like, Jeff, keep that seat warm. I'm back.
Oh man, that'd be a quick turnaround. That'd be insane.
Well, I do want to say that, there was a secret scene from last week, the whole Aquamamba of it all. And I really do encourage everyone out there to check it out because I think it brought a really interesting perspective to your character. I think there obviously was a lot of confidence on your end, whether or not it was founded, admittedly. But I think, you talk about sort of where you came from with your family and wanting to sort of find that confidence in yourself rather than kind of comparing yourself to your siblings and the success that they have had. And that was such an eye opener for me in seeing kind of the attitude that you walked into the game with. So thank you for being unabashedly yourself in all forms of the game, from falling down the well in the first episode to walking out with your head held high in the end. It was such a great opportunity to get to know you and getting to see all the entertainment you brought to this season, and hoping we'll get another opportunity to see those never before seen moves happening.
Oh yeah, hopefully so. It's pretty crazy because, like you said, there was a lot of moments that didn't get shown, like, us all going around day one and all talking about our moms. And, I was the one that started that. I said, hey, it's Mother's Day. Let's go ahead and go around and everybody say something nice about their mom. So everyone had a nice sentimental moment. We all walked down the beach saying happy birthday to Saul's wife on on her birthday because we saw a flower that reminded him of her. So we all sang happy birthday. There's a lot of really touching moments on Lavo that, that didn't pop up. But, it is what it is. I guess I'm the villain of the season.
Well, thank you so much for everything you brought to it. Are you not entertained? I guess to quote a fellow man from Rome, and very much was. So thank you, man. Always great getting the opportunity to chat with you, and all the best to you and yours.
Thank you, man. Thank you.